Hello everybody, this is Howard, the Teaserking, coming to you with week 13 of the NFL. We hit our big lock last week. I was very excited, finally hitting a good lock. Ohio State plus the 11.5 with Seattle getting 9.5 from Carolina. And Seattle was such a strong road dog. They're 12-1 as a road dog since 2016. And Carolina was a decent home favorite, but nothing great. And that's really what you look for. A strong road dog, Seattle, New England, some of these teams. And it's funny, it's like Green Bay is not a really good road dog. So you just got to look for the right opportunity. Carolina, had it been, well, the way Seattle plays the Rams, which is probably the best team, maybe New Orleans I would have laid away from in that situation, just the way New Orleans is. But that's what I look for. So that's what you're getting in the locks. You're getting these 90% trends, and they don't win every time, but they certainly win a lot of the time. This week I got a big lock going. I'm not sure yet. I'm waiting on an injury in the pros. I might have 3 locks in the pros, and I got 1 lock in college. So I might have 4 locks. I might have 3 locks. Waiting on the lines, waiting on 1 injury. One game I love, if the quarterback plays, it's like it's a joke. The spread's way off. Another thing in college for the bowls. Starting, you can get it today. It was posted last night. $77 will buy you the rest of college. You'll get all the bowl games. You'll get this week's games, which will include this week's lock. You get all the bowl games, which is, 50 games, 3-4 weeks. And you'll get the playoffs all the way through till the end of the playoffs. So that's roughly 5 weeks for $77. Normally I make it $100, and I normally don't include this week. But Merry Christmas! I don't know, feeling pretty good and very zeroed in on college. It's been a pretty good year in college. I've locked against Nebraska, and then the last 3 or 4 weeks I've taken Nebraska. They've been beautiful. Ohio State, as if you watch the video. The one thing I say is they're a great dog, and I think they've never been a home dog in 8 or 9 years, and on the road they're like 13-0. So this is why I do the trends. This is why it works. You get a team like Ohio, and Michigan is not a great road favorite. Now, did I expect Ohio State? Obviously, I didn't expect 100 points. Did I expect Ohio State to cover? Absolutely. I didn't think it would be more. I think I give the score like 24-21, 28-24. No way did I expect a 100-point game with Michigan's defense. But it shows you what's wrong with their defenses. They just don't, they basically don't know. They're good in man-to-man, vanilla, 1980, Jim Harbaugh, Bo Schembechler. You put them in these fast-paced offenses with a mobile quarterback and crossing patterns, you've got to play zone. Now, you would think Harbaugh, who was a quarterback in the NFL for 15 years, would know this. I don't have a problem with them. I mean, as far as Michigan, they scored 39 points on an average Ohio State defense that Nebraska put up 31 on. It's funny, Nebraska's defense held them to 36. Michigan's gives up 60. Unbelievable. But anyway, that's the point of it, is you've got to, it's not evolve. I mean, the crossing patterns have been around since Joe Montana to Jerry Rice, the slants. I've always been there. So it's just a new fad. But you do 2 things. You either Seattle Seahawks against New England, where you just crush against Denver, where you just crush the receiver and he don't want to go over the middle, or you just put a pass rush on and you just don't let the quarterback have time to throw the crossing patterns. Very simple. You do one of two, and I don't know that zone's necessarily the end-all, be-all of the crossing routes, because then the receiver, plays options, would sit down. So he wouldn't go all the way through the zone. He'd get and stop. So it's not like you can play a zone and that's going to stop it. It's just putting pressure on the quarterback is always that's always the elixir. It's got nothing to do with how good your secondary or play man-on-man or play zone. It's, can you put a pass rush on there and get to the quarterback? Because you can do that. There's no play that'll work. Anyway, so basically I just wanted to talk about the college sale, $77 for the rest of the year, starting today. So you'd get this weekend a lock and all these playoff games that I like to think is how the playoffs should be. Every team in here in the division, the winner of these games should go to the playoff. So Alabama, Georgia, winners in, losers out. You're out. Ohio State, Northwestern, Washington, Fresno State, Boise, UCF, Memphis, Oklahoma, Texas. I mean, all of them. That's it. This should be week one of playoff. Then you wouldn't have the arguments, because the arguments are so stupid. I get so sick of these radio guys. Well, you can't have a 2-loss team in, or if Alabama loses, they're still a 1-loss team. Nobody cares about the record. Since when does the record mean how good a team is? Also, I mean, if you're like that, New England's got 3 losses, so you can't have them, and Kansas City's got 2 losses. You can't have them in the playoff. Oh, wait a minute. In the NFL, because they all play hard schedules, there's nobody undefeated or 1 loss, and they'll probably end up 3-4 losses in the playoffs. So I don't really get this. If you like LSU schedule, for them to have 2 losses, they're a better team than 90% of these teams with 2 losses with that. I mean, they beat Georgia, they lost to Florida, they beat Auburn, Mississippi State. I mean, they beat some good teams, Miami. So I don't know that you look at necessarily. Excuse me, I'm trying to get rid of this cough. So I don't know that you just look at the record and you look at an Alabama who really hasn't played anybody good except for LSU. They played 1 good game. Old Mississippi State, not much good defensive team. And then you got Auburn, who lost to Tennessee. They're not a really good team. So Alabama beat 1 team, which doesn't have a good offense. That was a good matchup for them. But who do they beat? So if they lost the game, it doesn't mean anything. Notre Dame, who's undefeated, it's like, do you look at the schedule? Isn't the schedule more important? But this is where the whole point is. It shouldn't matter. You win your conference. This East-West stuff is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, because I like the Big 12. They shouldn't have one, because whoever won. But at least you have your top 2 teams in it. This Ohio State Northwestern is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I guess it would be Ohio State Michigan again, or maybe Ohio State Penn State or Michigan State, whatever. It's certainly not. Northwestern and Ohio State are not the best 2 teams in the Big Ten. Alabama, Georgia, you have it right. Clemson and Pitt's a joke. And then Washington plays whoever. Washington State's better than anybody there. They got caught in a snowstorm last week, and Washington happened to beat them, but Washington State's much better than Washington. So I'm just saying that should be round 1. So you put your top 2 teams in, there you go. This is round 1 of the playoffs. And have them in the site of the winning team should host. Alabama should be hosting it. Ohio State, all these teams should be hosting it. And then the winners, you get 7 or 8 winners. Now you're into the second round. Because you're already playing this round, right? This is already being played. So, you can't complain about school. Obviously, this doesn't mean anything. So the NCAA is really strange. And then these analysts that CBS or whatever, Fox, They might be the stupidest people I've ever heard because they're trying to convince you how good the playoff system is. Like, no, we just want the top 4 teams. And I'm like, how the hell do you know who the top 4 teams are? You have no idea who the top 4 teams are. Fresno State, UCF will give any of these teams a battle. The Army tied Oklahoma. I mean, give me a break. You have no clue. So, a team like UCF gets screwed. A team like Fresno State, if they beat Boise, should be in. They got a defense just as good as Alabama's and Michigan's and all those teams. Look at Fresno State. Oh, they don't play them. Well, they play Boise. And then I hate that excuse. I heard somebody about UCF. I think they had North Carolina State scheduled, who's a pretty good team. But they got hurricaned out, but they don't say anything about that. And then I like how they just dismissed them. Well, they wouldn't have a chance. Look how good. Alabama's got the best team ever. Well, yeah, they haven't played anybody, which was my other video with LSU, Alabama, where I stated all the teams, the defenses they played gave up at least 30 points a game. All of them. 7, 8 teams who were terrible. Louisville. Why don't they talk about how great Louisville and Louisiana Lafayette and Ole Miss are? And you're awarding Alabama the greatest team ever until they play a good defense. Then they're only scoring 20 points against Old Mississippi State and LSU, who don't have offenses. So let's see them against Ohio State would beat them. Clemson, I don't know. The quarterback seems a lot better. Fresno State would give them a hell of a game. UCF would have before with Milton. They had a really good chance to beat them with Milton. But without Milton, they don't have a chance. I mean, unless this other quarterback's Joe Montana. And that's the problem with college. You really have no idea. So anyway, so there's your playoff. So I will be making predictions on all the bowls and the playoffs the same way I do here. It's all matchups, and basically you're just the over-unders tend to come into play a lot. When I can't really choose a team because both teams I like or both teams I don't like, you tend to look at the offense and the defense, and you try to get, where you get an over or an under. Like I had the over in the Oklahoma-West Virginia game, and I said to my buddy, if this doesn't go over, I mean, it was like 35, 40 points in the second quarter. And after watching a game last week where it was like, I think it was Memphis and SMU or something, was 7-5 at halftime, and I'm like, okay, these teams score like 40 a game, and it's 7-5. See, that I don't understand when these explosive teams get together, and it's 7-5. You're like, so here finally, Oklahoma, West Virginia, it's finally they're in the 40s in the second quarter, and I go, that's what I expect, not the 7-5 crap. It's just amazing how these explosive teams playing weak defenses, and it's 7-5 at the half. And that's I just scratched my head going, what the hell is going on here? So again, you got to realize, I don't understand people who play me for a week and they judge me. I could go 11-0 or I could go 0-11. And I'm like, you can't judge me for a week. If I'm 11-0, I'm not going to do that every week. If I'm 0-11, I'm not going to do that every week. I'm going to hit a high percentage, probably in the 70s. So I've been pretty hot I finally hit the lock last week. The locks have been really frustrating me. They've been good picks, and then there'll be this injury that happens either just before the game or during the game, or something happens. The over misses by a point. I'm choosing between two teams. Do I go over in New Orleans or over in Green Bay? And I'll choose Green Bay, and New Orleans goes over, and Green Bay misses by a point. So it's been a real frustrating lock season like that, where you just can't figure it out. You're like, no matter what your choice is, it's like, I can go 9-1, and the one loser will be the lock. And it's been really frustrating. But I was really happy I finally got one in last week. Now I'm ready to roll with them. Like I said, I got at least, there's two teams I absolutely love. I'm waiting on an injury on one, and then two others that the spread's a little bit high on, but I think they're okay in the pros. Just the matchups are just, I don't know, they should not have much of a problem, but we'll see. Um, so anyway, so again, $77 for everything in college. Um, I'll probably lower. I'll definitely do a playoff, the pro playoffs, for like $100 for the whole playoffs, 4 weeks, and then I'll probably do. You can still buy my monthlies for $250. You can buy the monthly pros, and I'll probably lower my overall. If you want to buy the pros throughout the year, I'll probably lower that. Probably after this week, probably like 400 for the rest of the year or something like that. But anyway, so that's what I'm trying to do is adjust to what's remaining, and still pretty hot. I mean, I've had some missteps 2 weeks ago. Last week was pretty good, not great. I got the New Orleans over really hurt me on Thanksgiving, but I love that I had the Bears. And the Ohio State and Seattle win was really good. So most of my games came through, except for the New Orleans. It was the only big game that lost. And Atlanta fumbled at the 3. They fumbled at the goal line going in. They fumbled at the 17 just before half. So I mean, you can't. Again, they drove all day on them and just couldn't get it in. So that's why it's not 100%. But the play was correct. Atlanta, New Orleans should hit in the 70s easy. Normally does. And again, if they fumble at their own 5 instead of the New Orleans 5, it's an over. And that's what happens. So anyway, so good luck, and I'll have we'll watch the playoffs and then the pros this weekend. So again, it's www.teaserking.com. All the college from today through the end of the year, through the playoffs, $77. All right, everybody, good luck, and I hope everybody is well and healthy. Thank you.